skewed. National League. Hello and welcome to this edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show, brought to you by great listeners just like you. Just go over to our Patreon page. It's over at patreon.com/baseball talk. And hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Baseball Talk Radio. It's the Baseball Talk Radio Show with Rich and Gary. How you doing, Gary?
All right, Rich. We had our little vacation last week there, little St. Patrick's Day off. So a happy belated St. Patrick's Day to everybody. And we're back, and I'm glad we're here and lots of stuff to talk about. 10 days, Rich, or yes, 10 days, the opening day. Now we're getting excited.
Yes, indeed. The clock is ticking, as they say. 10 days to go, and what a great time it'll be. The weather's starting to warm up all over the country and starting to get the baseball weather here. We're past the St. Patty's Day holiday, and just every time the weeks progress now, we're another step closer to the start of the 2017 baseball season.
And I'll tell you, I can't wait. It's going to be 12 days for me. First game I go to, I'm going to a night game, foolishly, on April 5th. But it's a nice outing. It's with a friend of mine sponsors an outing, and I kind of co-sponsor it. So it's going to be a great time. This is the third year he's doing it, and we have a lot of fun. And he's got the biggest amount of people going this year than ever before. So it's going to be great, and looking forward to that.
That's an awesome plan. I think I'm starting to plan on going to opening day. Just always a great time to be at the ballpark. There's an extra sizzle to the air usually for opening day. A lot of pomp and circumstance, bands, things like that. Just a great time to be a baseball fan. So, yeah, I think I'm going to make my plans for opening day in the next day or two.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I used to go opening day, and the last time I went was, I guess 2 or 3 years ago I went, and it was a lot of fun. And it just gets so cold at Citi Field sometimes.
Does,
and the funny part is I like the heat. And I don't seem to find my way there in June or July or August when it's the hottest. So I don't know. I guess I'm just a little crazy that way. I end up going in April and May and September, and the other times I'm at the Cyclones games. So.
Yeah, I can remember times where my wife and I were sitting in the stands, had to bring a straw hat with us. It was so hot, 85 degrees, sweat dripping from you. Yeah. It's just, that's a real baseball fan when you can sit through that heat and humidity and just everything. It's tough to even breathe sometimes when it's 80, 90 degrees out there and humid. But thank God it's almost baseball weather again.
Well, believe it or not, I can live through that. I don't mind that. I don't like the one when you sit there and got 3 jackets on and you feel like you're at a football game. That's the one that gets me. Right. You start the game, you got your jersey on and a hat, and you end the game with 2 coats on and a winter hat pulled all the way down and gloves on. So, but like you say, Rich, it's great that we're 10 days away from opening day, and our nights will be filled with baseball watching once again.
Yes, indeed. Well, we had a lot of baseball watching the last couple of weeks. The World Baseball Classic has come to an end. We took last week off. We were going to recap the middle of it for you, but now we get to recap the whole series, and it was a very entertaining series, wasn't it, Gary?
It certainly was, Rich. The games were well played and very exciting. And of course, the USA won the World Baseball Classic. And And again, it doesn't seem to mean that much here. It's kind of a shame. You don't hear a lot of rah-rah stuff about it. I don't know why. I guess maybe because spring training, people are getting into their teams and don't like to see it disturbed. But it was exciting, and anybody did watch it really saw some good baseball.
Yes, they did. And if you're watching our YouTube feed of the show, on the screen there, you can see the Dodger Stadium as it looked before the final game there between Puerto Rico and the United States. What do you think of those uniforms of the USA?
They were all right. The darker gray, they were okay. Kind of reminiscent of the Diamondbacks, home grayish color. Only much better looking than what the Diamondbacks wore. Let's see. Here's a picture of them celebrating, and you can see the dark uniforms there. I don't really, I don't mind it. It just seemed odd that all of the games in LA, the last two games or so, they were the away team, and I can't remember them wearing the white uniform at all. Maybe one or two games early on, and so they were wearing those road grays most of the time. But it was just an exciting series, and of course, that final game, Rich, the game thrown by Stroman was unbelievable. He's the MVP of the World Baseball Classic, and really, I had a couple of candidates. Could have went to Brandon Crawford, who had a very good series. Christian Yelich was another guy that looked pretty good in that series from the Miami Marlins, but Marcus Stroman got the MVP, and deservedly so with the game he pitched. In for him, I guess you'd have to say it's probably one of the biggest games of his life to this time, to this date. Other than a playoff game he might have pitched with Toronto. But it was just, I have to say, there were a lot of interest from outside sources. But this year, it just seemed to be a better, the games were really quite close. Quite enjoyable, even with the and there was some new teams thrown in the mix too. With Netherlands had a very good team. They always seem to put together a good team, but they played very well this year. Team Israel was quite a story. Went 4-0, I think, or 3-0 in the first round, and then came in, struggled, got eliminated. But boy, they made quite a showing and really played some good baseball. And then, of course, the USA winning it all, and the Dominican Republic playing hard and had a good team. They were eliminated, and Puerto Rico winning it all as well. So very interesting and exciting. Even going back to the qualifier that I saw last year.
Absolutely. It was a greatly fought battle. And as you said, Israel was a big surprise. If you're watching the video here, you can see some of the results of the different pools that took place over the course of the whole classic. And it started in early March out in the Sky Dome in Toronto, actually, Tokyo Dome, Marlins Park. Um, and I misspoke there. It wasn't in Toronto. It was over in South Korea, the Sky Dome. So
Yeah.
very interesting. A lot of different teams, a lot of different sites. I took in a lot of the games in the mornings while I was getting ready for work. I would throw on the game for a few minutes, check it out. And Japan was the big powerhouse. And, the United States really won a huge game in that semifinal game against Japan. They really had to win that to get to the final.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they hung on 2-1 and then shellacked Puerto Rico 8-0 for the final. But as you said, Gary, there was a lot of great teams, some surprise teams. I don't think anybody picked Puerto Rico to do as well as they did.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know who was the favorite or anything of that, but they were loaded though. Molina and Correa and boy, the list goes on. Beltran, and they just had a loaded team. But there were a couple of good. Dominican Republic was loaded too, and yet it's what we always say. That's why you play the games. It's not on paper that that you make the picks on who's going to go where. And but the only problem that I see, and this is what a lot of people complain about, is it's the timing of it is poor, because of spring training and the possibility of injury to players. And there was a couple of guys we can discuss that did get injured, could hurt their teams respectively. And just that a lot of people complain, and it's really people that don't really come from those countries. They have a link to the country, but they're not actual citizens of that. Now, some are, of course, but like Israel had a lot of ex major leaguers, Ike Davis, who is Jewish, but went to Israel for the first time. Uh, in between the qualifier and before the game started to play. So a lot of people complained about that. But then if you did it the other way, you'd have to have amateurs playing, I guess. If you're having people come from the countries themselves instead of relations with that country. Another guy that I heard people complain about, especially in New York here, was Seth Lugo, who pitched that game, pitched really good the whole series. Had really two bad pitches against the U.S. He only gave up the 2 runs, I think, and lost the game. But he was born in Louisiana, but it's like his mother's grandparents or his mother's parents were from Puerto Rico, so that qualify him to play. And that's what some people don't like about it. And as I said, the other thing is the timing of it when they're playing it. Didi Gregorius got hurt with the Yankees, and he's going to miss the beginning of the season. They were not too happy about it. But you know what? Here's what I say. First off, he could have got hurt in spring training. Could have got hurt in the spring training game. And I know they're playing harder in these games, but he still could have got hurt in the spring training game. And you gave him permission to go. So you really have nothing to complain about. And Major League Baseball, this is their baby. I think they put this on with the Players Association, so they're getting a cut of it, and I'm sure the teams are getting some kind of cut from the gate. So the timing of it is still a crazy thing, but it is only 4 years, every 4 years. So
Yeah, you can't complain about success. And as we look at the YouTube video portion, the nice trophy that Team USA won for this, and it was a great celebratory moment, and it was a celebration for baseball in general. Rob Manfred and Tony Clark were both very happy with the results of the World Baseball Classic. There was an article in Forbes. .com that said, the crowds were great, the numbers in TV viewers were great, and it was just an overall grand slam. They said, great for the MLB network. Of course, they put it on for free to U.S. viewers of most cable networks, not all of them, but a lot of cable networks gave that away for free, and that was a nice preview of MLB Network. I could imagine that would very much help them as well with viewers. And as people watched it, they would want to get that if they didn't have it at home.
exactly, and they did a nice job. They had a good crew there, Smoltz and Viscursion. I think that's how you say his name. They were very good as usual. I remember that they did the World Series as well, and I think that was for the overseas. They were doing the World Series, but yeah, it was a good series. It was good baseball too, Rich. That's the key there. The games were very good. I think they only had one that hit. They have a mercy rule, and I think one hit that, but only one game. And it's exciting, and what's fascinating too is to see a slice of the other cultures. Like when Japan played the U.S. there, they had the guy banging the drum the whole time, and if you go to like Japan, or if you've ever seen the movie Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck, they're constantly banging a drum and singing and some other stuff they do, and you heard a little bit of that. They had bands playing and stuff like that. You heard that in Dodger Stadium, which was kind of crazy, because we're not used to that. But it was interesting to get that slice of culture and that the other when the other teams played, some of their culture that they bring to the ballpark in their home country, they brought to these games. So it's just an interesting thing. And like I said, it's every 4 years. They keep trying to work out something. I don't, we had this discussion at our lunch table at work about when you could play it, and there's really no good time. And I'm sure they've been through this 1,000 times. You can't play it before the World Series because then it would turn out to be like the Pro Bowl. The teams that are playing the World Series aren't going to let their players go. Can you play it right after the World Series? I don't know, because the rest of the teams are off, have been off for a week and a half or 10 days or whatever. Can you play it in the All-Star game? Well, then you're going to have a 2.5 week break, 3 week break. Do you want to do that in the middle of the weather in a good season? And then the only way you could do that to keep it on track would be to play double headers, and I don't want to do that. So this seems to work out the best time-wise for them.
Yeah, I don't think you could argue with that this was the best time of the season to do it because, as you said, towards the end of the season, a lot of the players are tired. A lot of them are hurt. They're injured. A lot of them are out. So, yeah,
Right.
this would make the most sense. And it caught on, for some reason. A lot of baseball fans were very much in tune with this baseball classic, whereas in years past, it sort of flew under the radar, so to speak.
Right. And the only complaint that I had about the whole thing was the start times. 9 o'clock at night. It was, I know they want to get the West Coast and the Japanese crowd and all of that, but that was crazy. I couldn't stay up for any of the ends of any of the games that they played. I stayed up for the final one, but I, paid for it the next day at work. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, if they started it at 8, it would have made more sense than starting it at 9.
Yeah, for the East Coast, and even certain parts of the Midwest, even Chicago, they're
Mhm.
only an hour ahead of the East Coast. So, yeah, maybe that would be a great plan for the next one. But yeah, it was an enjoyable time. And as you said, the mercy rule, it was back for the 2017 tournament. And that was if a team finds itself trailing by 10 or more runs after having batted 7 innings or 15 runs after 5 innings, it would automatically be given a loss. So, yeah, that's a good rule, because some of these teams could have been embarrassed. I saw a spring training game the other day. It was like 24-0. Uh, that gets a little, under the skin of some of the players too. So yeah, I think that's a great idea.
And what game was that?
The 24-0 game. Gosh, I'd have to look back at the standings, but I remember seeing that score one morning, probably about 10 days ago, maybe. I'd have to research that, but yeah, it was quite something.
24 to none. That is embarrassing.
And I think I found the reason why Puerto Rico lost this final, and I'm wondering if you could guess it.
Oh, I don't know.
All right. Well, if you're watching the video of the show here on our YouTube channel, Baseball Talk Radio Show, you'll be able to see it. And there's the reason they lost. They all had yellow hair. They all dyed their hair yellow. I'm not sure why, but I think that sort of worked against them, Gary.
I think it was a team bonding thing. They've done it. The Mets did that one year as well, early in the season. They all dyed their hair blonde, and I think that's they did that as a sort of like a team bonding thing. And look, they played well throughout the whole series. So just ran into a more defiant and directed and psyched up USA team, and really I was surprised at the final result because, but Stroman pitched such a good game and really deserved it. But Japan USA the semifinal game, now that was that was a nail biter. And we go back and say how the announcers can jinx these infielders sometime. And they were talking about the second baseman for Japan. He's won 4 Gold Gloves. This is a very good defensive infield, and then he makes an error that lets the first run in. And then they're talking about the third baseman who won 5 Gold Gloves, and he makes an error and lets the winning run score. So, maybe they jinxed him a little bit, the announcers, but just wasn't their day.
No, it wasn't. So we hope you enjoyed the World Baseball Classic out there as the listeners. And we want to thank you for tuning in to the podcast. Our numbers have grown on the podcast with iTunes and all the subscriptions, and also on YouTube. So we want to wave a hand to all our new viewers out there and listeners, and we welcome you on board to the show.
Yeah, we certainly do. And to all of those new people too, if you want to hear more great baseball talk, go check out baseballtalkradio.com. Is all kinds of stations there, all kinds of podcasts, I should say, on that network. That's got it's got my show, Mets Music. It's got Rich's show, Fighting Phillies, Phillies Talk. I'm sorry, and it's got so many others. There's one for practically every team. Washington and I just, there's so many. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, the Cubbies, the Twins,
Braves.
name it. I'm sorry, Rich.
The Braves, the Orioles, the Nationals,
Yes, yeah. Uncle.
Cardinals.
Yep. So go check it out, baseballtalkradio.com.
And of course, the Cubs, the world champion Cubs. There's 2 individual shows there. And there's also a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week streaming audio page where you can listen to some programming in your car. If you have the TuneIn app, you can just search for baseballpodcast.net there on TuneIn, and you can stream all of the audio that plays during the radio page. So, hope you like that. Baseballtalkradio.com. Gary has a couple of shows there. My show is there, and a ton of other shows. And we're adding 2 more shows within the next 10 days. By the end of the month, there'll be a female only podcast on baseball from a woman's perspective. So that's going to be cool. And another show called Just a Bit Outside. So I'm looking forward to adding those shows to the network. And we'd like to also invite you to join us on Facebook and Twitter. Just follow us there as well. And of course, our YouTube page. So thanks everybody for listening. And it's really fun doing it. So we want to thank you as well.
And, Rich, I was doing a little bit of work while you were talking there. I apologize, but it's as we get closer to opening day, some of the stories about food at the ballpark, and we love our food stories about the ballpark. And
Yes, we do.
unfortunately, I have the pictures, but I can't find the the story to go with them. So, but I think it is in Arizona, and they are bringing out some new foods. And I believe this one is like a chicken cordon bleu, but it's wrapped in bacon.
Now, that sounds good.
So I wish I could find the darn story.
And that looks good. And if you're watching our YouTube page, there's a nice
Good.
picture. It looks like a little ranch dressing with it, and maybe sweet
Little,
and sour mustard there, maybe.
yeah, or honey mustard or something, but that looks good. And then there is a foot-long hot dog, and God knows what's on that, but boy, that looks good as well.
Yes, it does. That looks a little bit too high class for me. It's got too many nice ingredients on it there. Very nice, though.
Yeah, if I could find out, I could really be more expressive with it. I apologize for not being prepared. It's
Maybe I'll take the next story while you check that out for a second or two. But
good.
this one just came off the wire within the last 8 hours or so. But the Pittsburgh Pirates player Jung Ho Kang reportedly has been denied a visa to enter the United States after a DUI conviction. So this is the first major pro athlete to be affected by the new stringent policy of entering the United States. And uh, kind of strange that he would be denied for a DUI conviction that he obtained in South Korea. Not so sure that the two nations really collaborate between one another for DUI convictions. But on Friday afternoon, Pirates president Frank Coonley um, issued a following statement. He said, a Korean news outlet has reported on a purported development in Jung Ho Kang's effort to secure permission to travel to the United States for the purposes of continuing his career as a member of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and added speculation regarding a driving incident in a quote unquote third country. The facts as we know them are that Kang still has not been granted permission to travel to the United States under a work visa. We continue to work with Kang and his representatives to present materials and information to the appropriate parties in the United States government that we believe establish that Kang should be permitted to travel to the United States under a work visa, and we remain hopeful that such a resolution will be reached in the near future. So, a little bit of brouhaha over that. Um, he has been arrested 3 other times as well in South Korea for the same offense for DUI. He was sentenced to 8 months in prison earlier this month, although the sentence was suspended for 2 years. So that means for him that he could avoid prison time entirely if he stays out of trouble for the next 2 years. So, Mr. Kang, I would not go near another beer or whatever you're drinking. Stop.
I would definitely stay away from that, and just a shame, It just goes to show you how you can really screw up your life if you're not careful. And apparently, he wasn't very careful. So,
Nor smart with probably the salary he'll be missing and everything else. Jung Ho Kang there. You can see his picture on the YouTube page if you're watching the video, of course. And yeah, you know, it's a tough lesson, and maybe they're going to try to teach that lesson with this, but you don't hear that very often with superstar athletes. Usually, money talks and things like that, they say, but not in this case. Uh, Mr. Kang from the Pirates, not permitted to be in the country.
and it's bad for them because he was a key part, but you can understand it to a certain extent. You're trying to cut down on this kind of thing, and being that he's a repeating offender, it does create a problem.
Yes, indeed. Well, Gary and I had a little conversation before the show started. We generally tape the show live here as we stream it on YouTube. It's been very good for us for a couple of years now on the podcast. but there's new technology emerging with Facebook. So if a lot of our listeners are on Facebook, we'd like to hear from you. Send us an email. You can reach me at rich@baseballtalkradio.com or Gary at baseballtalkradio.com, and let us know your feelings about it. If you're on Facebook, you'd like to see the show on Facebook, you can check it out live. We're going to give you that option in the future. Never know. We're going to stretch the show out a little bit and take it to different places. So if we get a good response that you'd like to see the show there, then we'd be more than glad to take the show live on Facebook. So
You
little food for thought there.
and Rich, I found the story. So every year, if you're a new listener, the last couple years, I guess we've just gone crazy over food stories, and why not do it again, Rich? Right?
Why
We're
not?
we're not. It doesn't look like we've missed a few meals ourselves, so we enjoy the finer things in life, especially at the ballpark. So there's some new menu items put out by the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they've always been pretty creative with this, Rich. And let's see, this one. This is a churro dog. It's a white iced Long John donut rolled in Oreo crumbs, frozen yogurt, whipped cream, and topped with strawberry topping, chocolate sauce, and Oreo cookie crumbs. So that is the churro dog.
Wow, that's amazing. And if the Arizona folks are listening, you could always FedEx us one of those desserts over, and we could give it an on the show review even.
There you go. I like that, Rich.
That would be awesome.
That would be great. And this one that we had on there, I was a little off the mark, but it is a bacon wrapped. It's a bacon wrapped pretzel baguette. The 12-inch bacon wrapped pretzel baguette stuffed with Black Forest ham and Swiss cheese and served with honey mustard and roasted jalapeno ranch.
Mm.
So that's very tasty. That is good as well.
Yes, that'll be on the top of the list there.
When
This
we go in Arizona, Rick.
So if you like your finer baseball foods, tune into the podcast all year long. We bring up a lot of the minor league promotions that they have, some funny ones, some good promotions with the food and all. So
And we
check.
have one more, Rich.
Okay.
It's the chicken enchilada dog. It's an 18-inch chicken enchilada sausage, queso blanco, enchilada sauce, pico de gallo, black olives, sour cream, and tortilla strips on a Tolera hot dog roll.
Now I'd love to know what they charge for that thing. It's got to go for $12.50.
There is no prices listed here. They have another item they're calling. I don't have a picture for that. A funnel cake chicken sandwich. It's a crispy chicken fillet, a garlic black pepper, cheddar, garlic black pepper cheddar, house strawberry jam, powdered sugar, and maple syrup served on two funnel cakes. And one more thing that they have, and again, I do not have a photo of it, a Sonoran vegan burger. A vegan burger with vegan pepper jack, soy chorizo, chipotle veganese, I guess that's instead of mayonnaise, cowboy caviar, and guacamole on a wheat bun. So they're even getting the vegan crowd. They're getting foods for too.
Very nice. They're leaving nobody out in this one. Everybody come out to the ballpark and you're going to get your favorite foods.
Yes, it's amazing how in the last I don't know 10 years or so how the food fare has changed so much at the ballpark than when we were kids, and you got a hot dog, a pretzel, and popcorn or something and a soda or a beer, and that was it. And now it's just, now they're getting real crazy with some of the stuff, and we've highlighted some of those in the past, but it's just a fun thing to go to the ballpark.
Yeah, forget the old cold hot dog and the warm beer. You're going to get the best of the best now.
That's for sure, Rich.
Well, as the week moves on here, there'll be a lot more talk about opening day pitchers with your own favorite teams across the country. That's always a nice talk, usually amongst fans, and I always look forward to hearing those talks. And Gary, we're going to have a guest on the next podcast.
Yeah, next week we're scheduled to have an author on, Hal Bach, and he wrote a book called Banned, and it's essentially about all the different players that have been banned from baseball permanently and otherwise, and some interesting stories there that people you never heard of that got thrown out for all sorts of reasons. So Mr. Bach will be on with us next week on the Baseball Talk radio show.
Ah, very great. So there's another reason to tune in to next week's show. And we appreciated bringing you this week's show and hope you have a great week. And only another 10 days or so to the start of the 2017 season, Gary. I can't wait.
Neither can I, Rich.
We'll talk to you again on the next edition of the Baseball Talk radio show, everyone. Have a great week.